So you just shot an episode?
Yeah.
What happens after you tape an episode? Is it
I just eat.
the important stuff?
Camera speeding.
Okay, Josh, whenever you're ready.
All right, let's have a chat. Well, we call this personal space, and I can't think of any more personal space than someone's home. So Jada, thanks for having us in your home today.
Thank you for being here.
You know, I list all the things that you've accomplished, you know, whether it's being an actor, a musician, a host. We're thrilled to add Trailblazer to the mix now. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Talk to me a little bit about, you know, we are in your home. When you look around you in the world that you've created for yourself, and then you look back to your beginnings in Baltimore, are you shocked yourself? Could you have imagined the world that you were able to create for yourself?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I knew that I was going to create something different for myself than where I grew up and how I grew up, but this definitely exceeded my vision.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, we've obviously been talking to you, MTV's been talking to you since the start,
Yeah.
as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And looking back at old conversations with you on the set of Set It Off or way back
Yeah.
when, you've always projected, like, what I see here today, like a real sense of who you were, a confidence. I guess I'm curious, like, where you think that came from? Because it seems like you had it from the get-go.
Well, yeah. I think a lot of it came from just how I grew up. You know, I grew up, like, around a lot of adversity. I was challenged often just in my environment. And I was also given many different environments that I was exposed to at a very young age.
Yeah.
So, you know, I could go from, you know, my grandmother's house, which was like black middle class, you know, activism, politics, and then going to live with my mother, which was, you know, young, single mom, basically. We're like in the trenches.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean?
It was rough. I mean, let's be real, yeah.
And so, and then I went to an art school.
Yes.
Right? So it was a lot of different worlds that I had to learn to navigate. And so you really have to know who you are in order to navigate all those different worlds successfully. But
Sure.
I'm so glad that I had the life that I had. I've learned to really appreciate the adversity that I had at a very young age, because I don't think that I could be who I am today without them. I've learned that it's through those trying and challenging times that you actually develop a lot of character.
Right.
You know, and it's actually a gift.
And I would think also with perspective, you're like, I got through that, and that was pretty dire.
Hey, let me tell you something.
So compared to all that,
Hey,
I can handle this.
Real talk.
Right?
Okay, growing up and some of the stuff I was confronted with
Yeah.
as a teenager, like, I should not be here now.
Yeah.
And I mean that several occasions, that, you know, there's definitely a higher power looking over me. And so I always think that way. I'm like, hey, you survived that, all the rest of this is cake. And that's real talk.
Do you ever think about the ones that didn't get out?
Every day. Every day. You think about the ones that didn't get out, and you're still thinking about the ones that aren't getting out. You know, you think that once you get to a certain place, or, you know, once you have a certain amount of success or what have you, that people would probably think that that's no longer reality in your life, that you don't lose people, and there are people who are still struggling, trying to get out, trying to make it, you know, and it's still a reality.
Yeah.
There's so many that, you know, I get phone calls all the time of friends of families, or people I've worked with that can't pay for funerals of loved ones that they've lost. You know, it's just a constant reality that you have to face, that goes, you know what, you wish you could bring everybody with you.
Yeah.
You do what you can. I'm grateful, so deeply grateful for the life that I've been able to create for myself, and to be able to assist those who call me and need that kind of assistance.
Yeah. It must have been eye-opening when you get to Baltimore School of the Arts, rather, and maybe you now have like a peek at, like, wait, there's a way out. There's a path for me.
Oh, definitely.
Who were you leaning on in those years to, like, help get you out and kind of like start to pursue that first big break?
I would say that a lot of my teachers at Baltimore School for the Arts, who just believed in me,
Right.
you know, who kept reminding me that there was more that I could have for my life than the streets, honestly. And also my mother, who was just determined. She really, out of anybody, just believed that I could do what I'm doing right now.
And that's what you need. You need someone
Yeah,
to
I
believe in you,
needed
right?
somebody to believe in me. And my mother definitely did. I mean, I wasn't supposed to graduate high school. I was literally given my high school diploma as a gift because they just knew. They were like, if we get you out of here, we know you're going to do something.
Right,
with
you'll pay it
yourself.
back. You'll pay it forward.
You know. And,
well, they look good now. That was a good call.
Exactly, it was a good call, actually.
Okay, jumping ahead, because I mean, you've done so much. Talking about like the acting career. You make your film debut in Menace to Society. It's a hell of a place to start a film career.
For sure.
Talk to me about, like, did it feel like there was a group of young African-American actors that you felt like a kinship with?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the golden age of like young Black Hollywood. And I'll tell you, I got Menace to Society through Tupac. Tupac was a part of Menace to Society first, and he was the one that put me on. He was the one that called the Hughes brothers and was like, you gotta meet my homegirl, Jada. You know what I'm saying? And he called me, he was like, I'm part of this movie. I really think you'd be great for this role. And I was like, word. So I went and I met them. We clicked, and so I got the role. So I'm thinking, oh, me and Pac are gonna work together for our first movie, right? Of course, Pac has a falling out,
right.
you know, with the Hughes brothers. But what was so dope, because I was like, well, if you're not doing it, I'm not doing it. And he's like, nope, I'm not playing that game.
Yeah.
You need to do this film. And that was my first big break.
Pac obviously often comes up in conversation with you. Do you think about him, or is it people like me that bring him up, that put him in your mind?
Oh, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about Pac.
Yeah.
I think about him every single day.
Not many relationships like that in a life, right?
Absolutely.
You know, you look at the film career and like it's so eclectic. Like, I mean, here's just like a handful. You mentioned Menace to Society, like Nutty Professor, Scream 2, Bamboozled. I love Bamboozled. Collateral. Like, they're all crazy different genres.
Absolutely.
When you're flipping through the TV, is there one in particular that you take most pride in? You point the kids to, say like, your mom did all right in that one. Like,
you know what? I really love them all. You know, I've been really blessed in my career to be able to do a variety of things. You know, I take a lot of pride in that. As an African American woman, you know, it's challenging to be able to have such diversity in the roles and the people that I've been able to work with. There's not many of us who've been able to do that.
Yep.
And so when I look at my body of work thus far, I'm proud of it all, honestly, because it's challenging to be a woman, and specifically a woman of color in this industry. And so I look at it all, and I'm just deeply grateful.
Two films I didn't mention were the two Matrix sequels, which I adore. I adore those films, and I know like you wanted that, like you went after that.
Listen, I remember when Will got the script, because they wanted Will to play Neo, and I was like, are you crazy? Dude, you gotta do this movie. And he's like, I don't get it, you know. And I was like, all right, cool. And so they brought me in to read for Trinity once Keanu had it. And, you know, that didn't really work out, but the directors kept me.
I think they wrote Niobe for you, didn't they?
They did.
I mean,
and I was pregnant with Willow at the time, right?
Like,
and they were
timing.
like, we're starting in November now, peep this. I was like, you know, the baby's supposed to be born in October now. Her due date was November 11th. Okay, so I kind of, you know, kind of lied a little bit, you know.
Can I have my
like,
cake and eat it too? How am I going to make this work?
But how about Willow came early, October 31st. She came early for her mom.
The family always supporting the family here, right from the start.
Exactly. And so she came out, and within a month, I was up north starting to film and train. Yeah, so I pushed her out like a little peanut, and off to work we went. Yeah.
There's always murmurs about, like, they're going to revive that in some capacity, whether it's a reboot or a sequel. You want in on that? Would you be up for more
absolutely.
Matrix?
Sure.
Come on.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I know also, like, you were in Scream 2, I mentioned, like, you like genre, comic books, like that stuff. Like, we were kindred spirits there. And if anything, I want to see you in more. I mean, we're in the age of that right now. Like, should we ring up Ryan Coogler and be like, Black Panther 2, make some room for Jada?
Well,
like,
you know, hey, I think those things always come naturally. I mean, who would have thought that I would have had an opportunity to be part of the Gotham world as Fish Mooney?
And you loved that role.
Yeah, I loved it. And not only that, but to have an opportunity to help create that character, you know? And so that, for me, was one of my favorite projects of all time for many different reasons, you know?
We have to talk Red Table Talk because we're like feet away from where you just shot an episode.
Right.
And this is a phenomenon. Like, this probably, I don't know if it exceeds your wildest expectations, but the way it's resonated with people is pretty amazing and astounding. And, you know, I can guess, and I think a lot of people can guess why. It's such an honest show. I mean, you're facing like really traditionally tough things to talk about in the most profoundly like basic human way. Have you kind of like sorted out why you think it's created this community and why it's resonating with people? Is it about just like Honesty or what?
I think it may be a couple of things in regards to, and this is just a guess, but I think that people are ready for that kind of transparency within their own lives. Really, not even with other people, just with themselves.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we can't even really contact how we feel, right? Just personally about certain issues, right?
Right.
How often do we really sit in silence and think about how we feel and really feel it,
Yep.
right? And then I think on top of that, just being able to have conversations that you wouldn't necessarily talk about out, you know, in the open, specifically, you know, problems with pornography with your daughter and your mother. Like that's not a conversation that you are going to sit down and have with your daughter and your mother, but I think it's the conversations we need to have, right? Because of this day and age that we're living in.
Do you ever get shocked by what your mom or your daughter say at the table?
Absolutely, definitely. They've gotten me a couple of times. But I've learned so much about them. I've learned so much about myself and just the community that we've been able to create around the Red Table. And also, to be honest with you, I've been through so much in my life, and I think I've come through and survived a lot. And I feel like anything that I can share that can help someone else's path be a little easier.
Right.
You know, and I think at this particular point in my life, I feel grateful to be able to do that. And I know that people who've had the courage to do it with me, like when people have been really courageous enough to tell me the real story, what it's done for my life. Like some of those stories helped me save my relationship with Will. Some of those stories prevented me from making some of the biggest mistakes with my children.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm like, that's what life's about, us being able to gift each other in that way through our experiences.
Sure.
So if I can help your experience be a little less of a struggle than mine, why not?
And it must be such a thrill also to work with family, to hear, for instance, your daughter's perspective on things that normally a mother probably wouldn't hear. I mean, I'm wondering, like, do your kids teach you much about the world we're living in now? Do they educate you about pop culture, about phrases in pop culture and TV and film? Like, do they kind of bring you up to speed at all?
You know what? Not so much pop culture, because my kids are kind of eclectic, if you've noticed.
Understatement of the year.
You know what I mean? But what they teach me about is what needs to be important, specifically socially.
Yeah.
You know, in regards to environment and footprint. And Willow, Jaden, and Trey are very sensitive to what is happening to our planet and what is happening as far as our educational system, jail systems. They keep me up to speed of a more modern understanding of social issues and how to reach people in a modern way.
Your family is remarkable. Like, there's so much talent in this house, in where we are. I'm curious, like, over the years, like, do you notice a difference in the way that you and Will are talked about by press or industry? Is there a gender difference? I mean,
Definitely.
Isn't there?
There's a huge gender difference. Always has been.
You've noticed that from the start.
Oh, I knew that from day one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. But that's also been a place where I've had to learn to really find that inner ground within myself, that place within myself that is still and standing upon its strength, no matter what people are saying, or no matter what people's perspective are, you know, whatever people feel that they think that they know or see in regards to.
That's easier said than done, though.
It's easier said than done.
Man,
but I mean that is one of the biggest challenges of being in this business, is being very clear about who you are, and being able to stand strong on that. And I think that, you know, we see some people in this industry who are destroyed by it, and we see giants rise because it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's deeply challenging, and I think that people don't really understand. You can't really know how challenging it is until you're in it.
Yep.
You know, looking on the outside, it looks very glamorous and fun, and people pay attention, you know, to you, but, you know, all of that, but it's so much more.
Yeah, adding another distinction to your long resume, we can call you a trailblazer now officially. MTV can, and the world can. MTV defines a trailblazer as recognizing a game-changing creator with a fresh and fearless voice in entertainment.
I'm going to tell you one thing about MTV, and I thought about this once that I was actually being given this honor by MTV, and what is completely ironic about this is that I was 10 years old when MTV came on the scene, and it was the first time that, in talking about trailblazing, I really feel like MTV was probably like the first platform that gave me, as a young person, an opportunity to really form my ideas and my voice, because I could see the people of my generation that were important to me. So we had Yo MTV Rap, so I could see Queen Latifah, Salt and Pepper, MC Lyte, KRS-One, Chuck D, you know, talk about what was important to them, what was important to our community, that they had a platform. Also, it was like learning my social political voice through campaigns like Rock to Vote. So I realized once I was being given this honor that I was like, wow, MTV really MTV really helped shape my ideas and really helped me understand that my voice was important, and made it very clear that I could be whatever I wanted, you know. But I don't think there's ever been, well, besides the internet coming onto the scene, that there was anything else as impactful to me. Because, I mean, that was the game changer.
Right.
MTV shook it up, in all honesty.
Well, we can't say that, but we appreciate you saying that. And it's honestly, speaking on behalf of all of us, I can say that it's been a privilege to follow you along this journey. It's been a tough road at times, as it often is for artists and people coming from different means. But the fact that you've persevered and charted your own path in so many different ways is inspiring. There's a lot of MTV love in the Smith house. Will's got the Generation Award.
Yeah.
Jane got Breakthrough. You're a trailblazer.
Yes.
So Willow's next.
Yeah,
We got to get her
Willow's
some.
next, yes.